Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to do some router work on this Tweety Pie character from the cartoons. And the idea is we're going to route out all the white section and then use a scroll saw, literally just cut it away from the wood itself. Now obviously you could leave it on that wood and just do all the router work and make a little frame, but I'm just going to cut it out. I like to incorporate the router and a scroll saw. Nice little scrouter projects, as I call them. But we'll talk about these scroll saw once we've done all the routing out areas. Now for me, on these kind of projects, I like to use carbon paper or graphite paper. And you just pop it underneath, like so. Stick it down, a bit of tape, make sure it doesn't move about. And I prefer to use a biro or a pencil, and you literally just draw around it all. It's all part of the project for me. That way you can obviously use that template over and over again should you want to. You want nice fresh carbon paper. This has been on from day one, there's no carbon left in that. And there is basically our little image for today. Now what I like to do is mark off the areas you want to remove, be it with crosses, whatever you want to put on there. Because you will go away, come back, and maybe start routing out this outer section, whereas we want the inner section leaving behind. And with all your routing, we want to route out up to the line, never on the line itself. If you had a small section like around the beak area, if we were to route out on the line there and on that one, that would narrow that distance in between. So we want to be up to the line on the inner cuts, and obviously outer cuts up to the line all the way around there. And we're going to remove all this area. Once that's done, we will cut it out on a scroll saw. And then painting, you could paint inside all of these with the appropriate colours. Give it a quick sanding down and then paint your black on the remaining sections. But for me, we'll do the opposite way. We're going to paint it all black and then incorporate coloured resins into these certain areas. And hopefully that will all pop out nicely. We'll obviously talk about the resin side of things a bit nearer. But for now, the bits we're going to use, as always for me on these kind of projects, I like to use these CNC bits. We call them CNC bits. I think that's actually CPD, some computer program, digital, whatever, I don't know. But I've always called them CNC bits. They come with different degrees, 20 and 30s, 15s those ones, and they're 10s. And that's basically just the point at the end of the bit itself. You can see this is a 15 on this one. That's quite sharp, is that one there, pointed, should I say? Because we are going to incorporate the resin, so it doesn't matter about any side sections of the cut, if that makes sense. And I'll use these to go around all the line work, around the whole piece. Once we've done all that, we'll come in with our end milling bits. Now there is different bits out there, profile bits, liner bits, spiral up cuts, down cuts. But for me, and somebody that's just starting out, you can't go wrong with something like that off eBay. They're the same size shaft on them, a 3.175, the same as your CNC bit. So you will require, just remembered there, you will require what they call an adapter reducer collet. 3/4 inch, 6.35mm. It's basically just a little metal tube, and your bit slots into there. That will now fit your router, no problem. If your router takes ½ inch, you'll need a bigger adapter. If you have the Dremel with the router attachment, that will fit straight into your Dremel as it is. So remember, you'll need the adapter collet at the same time. So we've done all our lines with the CNC bits. We'll then pop in an end milling bit for these kind of projects. I think we'll get away with something a little bit bigger than that one. That's just a little bit too small. That's the first one we've grabbed. And I made myself a little depth gauge, and I work on 3mm, which is roughly going to be that one there, which is basically the same thickness as your CNC bit. So that's plenty deep enough for paint and also for resin. There's no need to go any deeper. You're just going to waste your resin when you're filling it up. And when I say filling up, we basically just cover all this with our resin, and we still want to be able to fill the routed out areas. But for now, we'll literally just pop our CNC bit in to the adapter collet, just there, like so. We'll set it to be roughly 3mm. I'll do a couple of samples on the side here, or we can pop it in the router and just hit it on top of there, and that will be plenty deep enough. Okay, let's start doing all the lines first. This is on recycled pine, by the way. I managed to get 11 pieces of this, so it's a good 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's rough and ready. There's the bits at the back there, so when you place your template on, we've got a knot there. That won't affect us. That'll all be covered with our resin. So just check your wood out first before you start putting your templates on. Okay, let's start routing this one out. Okay, so we've got the CNC bit in the router there, you can see, with our adapter collet. We've done a couple of samples on the wood itself, as you can see there, and I'm quite happy to go with that one there, if I remember rightly. So just slightly over 3mm to 3mm, it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's start routing this one out. Right, so we've made it all the way around with our 15-degree CNC bit. It's been a while since I've worked with pine regarding the router side. I've been using 12mm plywood. So this is quite dusty and it doesn't look a lot to look at as regards to the line work. Still a lot quite powdery in there. And that just could be the nature of the wood. But hopefully when we start routing out all these other sections, will all come a lot clearer, so we're not overly concerned about that. So we're going to remove should I say, the CNC bit. I'll just pop in a small end miller bit for now. These are older ones and they come with that plastic barrier on. When you purchase newer ones, I can just grab some quickly. Got some nice new ones here. We might put one of these in. They come without the plastic barrier on, but they are exactly the same pieces. So we'll pop that in the router, should I say. I was actually looking for the adapter collet and I've already put it on. And we'll set it to that depth there. I always remove a couple of pieces just so we can do the depth, or obviously we could go to the original one there. So we set it to that depth and basically remove all the penciled areas. Okay, that's it for the end milling bit. in the end, we just did the full piece with that little one there, and it soon comes off once you get into the zone. And you can see from that everything's nicely cleared up, and if you get really close you should just be able to make out the pencil line on most of it. Remember, we've come up to the line, not on top of the line. So we'll all that to tidy up afterwards. Bit of sandpaper. And also I like to go inside my projects with one of these engraving bits, just cheap eBay specials. You'll get a packet of 30 for next to nothing, and we'll get one with a nice flat bottom on the end of my flexi cable. Same again, just an eBay special. I've had these for over a year now, no problem. We'll turn that on and neatly just give it a little bit of a tidy up, just get to those tighter areas there, and then we can use the side of it and just nibble away and get it somewhere near. But before that, we're going to cut it out on a scroll saw. Now for me, I like to use what they call spiral blades. Spiral blades, the teeth spiral the full length of the blade, and they will cut in any direction. The other two blades are a pin blade. They have a pin at both ends. They're for your more basic saws. Remember, with any of your blades, they want to be smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. That way you're never in the right way. And for the more professional guys, they have pinless blades, really fine things like this, depending on the thickness of the wood and what wood you are using. Unfortunately, with my old draper in the corner there, it only takes pin blades, so I have to use these adapter clamps, top and bottom. You get the Allen key in there, undo it, slide that off. If you're doing a lot of pilot holes, if we were cutting this out, imagine we're going to cut out the piece of eye there, you would drill a hole. So you'd have to feed that blade through, attach your clamp onto the saw and cut that out. But as it is today, we are literally just going to go around the full piece, not forgetting to not cut those off on the top there. So we'll pop this Pegasus number 5 spiral in the scroll saw, cut this all out, and then we'll come back with those Dremel bits just to tidy it all up. Bit of sandpaper, mouse sander, and then after that we'll be looking to the staining or painting, and then it'll be resin time, basically just to fill all these sections up. But before that, we'll cut it out on the saw. Right, that's enough sanding down and general shaping for me. You might just be able to see there we've rounded all those eyes off. Everything's nice and smooth and we haven't lost anything. And also with those spiral blades, you get the little fuzzies on the back. We've cleared all that back section off as well. So that's all nicely ready for painting now. And I'm going to go with the paint. Originally I was going to put a dark teak stain on there. It would have certainly gone a lot easier. But I want to be quite black round here for the black eyelashes and the black ear. And then the the resin should really stand out nice, the yellow, the whites and the blue and the orange for the feet. So just nice painter's touch for me. You could spray this just as easy. I just prefer to use a brush and a paint. And we want to make sure we get all these side walls done right in there, because when we come up with the resin, we're not going to fill to the top. We're just going to basically just cover the back of this, so you can still feel that it's all been routed out afterwards. So for me personally, just a brush, nothing fancy. You can just throw it on like that, and we do the full piece. Just so we got black at the back of here. If your resin is not strong with colour, I mean, I use acrylic paint, so it will be really quite solid. If your colours aren't as solid, the black behind, I think, just makes it look more of a solid colour. So I'll go on quickly with the first one, and then I will go over again with a second coat. Just remember, do all those side walls in there. It's all part of the project. Black spray would be a lot quicker, but I don't have any, so I'll just continue. And remember, we want all these side walls doing as well. Okay, I'll come back when this one's nicely painted. Okay, so we've painted our little project here. This dries in a matter of minutes. Oops, and we've also done the back section there, not forgetting all those side walls all the way around. Remember, when we put our resin in, we're not going to go right to the top. We still want to be able to feel this routed out section. Now, you know what's coming next. Bit of varnish for me. One, it just gives it a bit of a shine, and to me it just finishes the project nicely. And two, even though we've got all this paint in here, that's probably sealed the wood nicely, a bit of varnish on top won't do it any harm. Just it helps reduce any of those bubbles in the resin. So whatever we have to hand, Paint Factory gloss, just gonna couple of coats on this, and then we're ready for resin. And once the resin goes in, this project will be finished. So just spray on like so. We'll go outside, getting all those side walls done, and when we come back, we'll be ready to pop our resin in. Right, it's resin time. You might just see from that, we've got a nice little shine going, and hopefully that sealed that project nicely. Just a couple of coats on that. It looks a bit dark there because I've turned the flash off my mobile phone. I film everything by my phone. So I turn the flash off just so it's not glaring too much, and we're just relying on the natural light now. So okay, resin time. So we're just going to fill it in with the appropriate colours. For me, acrylic paints just mixed in with our resin. There's only 4 colours to go at, and you don't need a lot in there. I personally just put in what I need to make the colour nice and solid. They do recommend 10% of whatever volume you're mixing, but I've just put in what I need, and I've never had any issues. Now the resin today, one of my favourites at the moment is Vista 1 resin. All your resins are 2 parts. You have A, your resin, and B, your hardener. This is a mix by volume. So basically, whatever amount of A, you want the same amount of B. I use these nice little cheap plastic party cups. They're ideal because they have little grooves up the side, and I've counted up at 5, marked it off for A, and 5 marked it off for B. So we put the same amount in each one. Some resins you mix by volume, some resins you mix by weight, so you will require some digital scales. Some resins are 1-to-1, which this one is 1-to-1, basically the same amount of each A and B. Some are 2-to-1, some are 3-to-1. Some resins are deep pour resins, some are craft resins. So do your bit of research, make sure you get the right resin. Once we've mixed the resin up off camera, we'll basically add our acrylic paint as before and just fill this in. I like to use these plastic knife and forks and spoons for mixing with. They're ideal because they do have a nice little groove at the back there, and that's perfect for mixing, scooping it out, and you can trickle that into there nice and steady. If that's not your thing, I did try these pipettes once. You can cut the end off and that will allow you to suck the resin up if you want to get into some of the smaller areas. Didn't quite work for me, so I don't use it personally. And I have seen folks use these syringes. You can suck your resin up like so, he says, and squirt that into there. That again didn't work for me, so just the back of the spoon is plenty. So we'll mix our resin, pop our colours in, and then we'll start filling this one up. I like to get a cocktail stick just to help it on its way, and then we'll get a lighter, which I've just remembered we haven't got, something like this, and then we'll skim over the top just to help release any bubbles. We'll see this as we go along, but for now we'll mix our resin up off camera, and then when we come back we can start filling this one in. Right, so we've mixed our first batch of resin. Don't be concerned about the colour of that. That's only because I'm mixing it quick and we're going to add our colour. If you were to leave this to one side for a couple of minutes, this will clear up in time eventually. But for us it doesn't really matter. Now remember, with your resins you want proper gloves on, plenty of ventilation, get a nice resin mask fit for purpose. Please do not follow me by example. Now we've got a nice little batch of resin going down there. We obviously don't need all this for certain colours, so I like to just transfer a bit into a separate container, and then of that colour we're going to do orange first. If there's any orange left over, I have these little moulds ready. I will incorporate these into a project further down the line. And also I have a little koi fish mould just sat to one side, and any resin bits we just fill them up and we make nice little resin fish like so. So nothing goes to waste, so just be careful of your mixes as well. Don't mix a full batch and then you've got too much left over. Have little sidelines going as well. So we're going to do orange first, and it's going to be pure guesswork. We'll start off with something like that maybe. We'll also get a white, and we might even get our blue out of that bit if we don't mess about too much. So we're going to drop a bit of colour in now. Let's go for our orange. Like I say, just say 10% of the amount you're mixing. Personally myself, I'll just drop it in till I've got a nice solid colour, and what I think's near enough for what we need. Remember, we've painted the background black, so if it's not quite thick enough colour wise, that black will certainly help behind it. So we'll drop a little bit out just to see what it looks like against the black. And I like a little bit more in there, it's just not quite dark enough, so we'll drop a bit more painting. Right, that should be more than plenty now. So another quick mix around and we should be good to go. You might just see the difference between that one and that piece here. Yes, that's a lot better orange now, so that's near enough for it. So off the spoon or straight out this, like so. Remember your little drips, a bit more in there. Remember you've got your little cocktail stick, that will just help it along its way. Make sure I get right to the edges there. Obviously it does flow slowly depending on how much it is, how much you've put in there, but it certainly doesn't any harm just to help it on its way. Now there's a couple of small bits in here, but just go a bit delicate. We can just maybe just drop that straight in on the beak itself. Whoops, I'm on a nerve here. And that one in there hopefully. Right, so that was to be the little beak done. Right, let's speed things up and basically just fill this one in. Right, there's all our resin nicely gone in, and as we've filled it up, we've gone across with a lighter, small one or a big one, and that just helps remove any of those little bubbles, like so. Keep it moving all the time, and you will see those little bubbles just disappearing. So that's it, we've filled it all up. That's all we can do, and we'll leave this for a good 24 hours. I'll come back tomorrow and we'll see what we've got. Always find a cover for it, cover it up, because any dust or anything, they will find it, flies, anything like that. So put a nice cover on. We'll come back in 24 hours and see how this one's finished. Right, it's the next day. It's less than 24 hours later, and everything is set nice and solid. We've had no issues whatsoever. You get really close, everything's gone fine. Look at those lovely eyes looking at you. Okay, so there we go. So it's Tweety Pie. It comes in at roughly 12 inches by 7 inches. We routed it out on recycled wood, remember? We started off with our little CNC bits for all the line work, and then I just come in with end milling bits for the clear out. Remember, there is different bits out there that you'll find you may prefer yourself, but for me, so you're just starting out, those little packets there are ideal for a beginner in the router side of things. For cutting it out, simple spiral blade, Pegasus number 5 for me. That's just my personal choice. Any blade would have cut this out, it's nothing too complicated. And then we give it a little bit of a clean out, remember, with our end milling bits. That's just another personal thing for me, just to make sure we get into all these little sections here, make it dust free, because obviously we're putting resin in. If resin is not your thing, like I said previously, you could paint this, paint your orange, paint your yellow, whites and blues, give it a nice sanding down to make it all nice and crispy, and then literally come in with your black or dark teak stain or anything and just stain the rest of the wood. But for me personally, I just like to use a bit of resin, and the resin itself was Vista 1 resin, and for the lovely colours, nice good solid colours, we just use acrylic paints. And obviously before that all went in, just a simple black painter's tape paint. I put on with a brush. You get the same paint in a spray form, and then just to give it that nice little shine and to seal it a bit, any gloss varnish will do for me. And that's it, this little project is finished. Just a nice little fun project using up recycled pine. Free wood, remember, free wood is the best wood for me. And for hanging purposes, I could route out a slit in the back or a nook, or this will actually, it does actually stand up like so, but personally you can make a little base, put it onto a base and a simple screw through the bottom of the base onto the foot there, just to hold it all in place. And that's it. Tweety Pie, routed out on recycled pine and inlaid with resin mixed with acrylic paints. Thank you very much for watching.